I promise I won't touch you again after tonight, Korean Mafia boss said to the black woman. The rain wasn't just falling, it was chasing her, pushing her forward as if even the sky wanted her to run. Her breaths came short, hot clouds in the cold soul night. Her dress clung to her skin, her braids slapping against her back as she sprinted away from the club's back entrance. She didn't look back. She didn't need to. She could feel him behind her. His presence always hit before his footsteps ever did. She turned the corner sharply, and his voice rolled through the air. Stop. Oh, smooth. Danger and desire braided into one sound. Her body reacted before her mind did. Her steps faltered, her pulse skipped. Because that voice always did something to her. But she forced herself to keep going. She couldn't let him catch her again. Not after what almost happened inside. Don't run from me, he said. And God, he wasn't even breathless. By the time she reached the underpass, her legs shook. The cold metal beams echoed the pounding of her heart. She pressed her back to the wall, trying to steady her breathing. A moment later, he emerged from the shadows. Tall, dark suit soaked through. Black hair dripping, framing the sharpest cheekbones she had ever seen. Eyes, those intense, unreadable eyes, locked onto her like she was the only thing he saw. He approached slowly, his steps controlled, deliberate. He didn't need to run. He knew she couldn't escape him. Rain slid down his jawline, glistening under the dim street lights, and for a second she forgot how to breathe. You ran again, he said softly. Not angry. Not even surprised. Just hurt. Barely. She pushed off the wall, keeping distance between them. I told you, I can't keep doing this. His gaze flickered down her body, lingering just a beat too long before he forced his eyes back up to her face. The restraint in that simple movement made her stomach tighten. His voice dropped to a whisper. You think I didn't notice the way you looked at me tonight? Her breath shook. That was a mistake. No, he murmured, stepping closer. It wasn't. The air between them thickened, warm despite the cold rain, charged with everything they both tried to deny. You don't belong in my world, she whispered. He stopped just inches away, the rain dripping from his hair onto her skin. But you walked into it, he said, and now I can't walk out. She swallowed hard, the heat of his body brushing her even though he hadn't touched her yet. He leaned in just slightly, his breath warm against her ear. Tell me to leave, he whispered. I will, if you really want me to. Her lips parted, but no words came out. Because he knew. He always knew. A muscle ticked in his jaw as he pulled back enough to meet her eyes. Tonight is the last time I chase you, he said quietly. And after tonight. His gaze dropped to her lips just for a second. I promise I won't touch you again. The lie trembled in the air. Heavy, thick, suffocating. Because they both felt the truth. He was already touching her without laying a finger on her. And she was already letting him. The hotel suite door clicked shut behind her, sealing the world out. And sealing her alone with him. Warm light spilled over the room, soft gold, dim but intimate. And the rain outside painted watery shadows across the floor-to-ceiling windows. She stood near the doorway, drenched, shivering slightly. Not from the cold. From him. The Korean Mafia boss shrugged off his soaked jacket, his movements slow, deliberate. The black fabric fell to the floor with a soft thud, revealing the fitted shirt beneath, clinging to him, outlining the lean, dangerous strength he carried so effortlessly. His collar loosened slightly, offering a glimpse of the tattoo on his collarbone, and her breath hitched. He noticed. He always noticed. You're tense, he said quietly, voice smooth like warm velvet. You've been tense since you ran. Can you blame me? She shot back, arms crossing over her chest, even though that did nothing to protect her from the heat of his gaze. He stepped closer, not enough to touch, but enough that his presence pressed against her senses. Sit, he said gently. There was no command in his voice, but it still made her muscles soften. He wasn't ordering her. He was trying to calm her. She hesitated, then moved to the couch, her dress brushing against her skin, still damp, her heartbeat loud in her own ears. He sat across from her, elbows on his knees, fingers interlaced. He didn't lean back. He leaned forward toward her. And that alone set her nerves on fire. Why me? She whispered. It was a question she'd asked herself every night since the first time he looked at her, as if she were something he wasn't allowed to want. He let out a long breath, dragging a hand through his wet hair. "When you walked into my club, you weren't afraid," he said. "You were the only person in that room who saw me as a man and not a monster." "That's not true," she murmured. "It is," he countered softly. "And I didn't know what to do with that." His eyes flickered to her lips, just a flicker, but something inside her tightened anyway. She glanced away. "You warned me never to tempt you." His jaw clenched. "I warned you because I was already tempted." Silence curled around them, hot and thick. He reached for the bottle of liquor sitting on the table, poured 2 glasses, but neither touched theirs. He wasn't drunk. And he wasn't trying to seduce her with alcohol. He was trying to keep his hands busy. "If you want to leave," he said quietly, "I'll let you. After tonight." "Why tonight?" she asked, voice softer now. "Because if someone else comes after you," he said, eyes darkening, "I won't be there to protect you." Her brows furrowed. "What are you talking about?" He leaned back slightly, eyes never leaving hers. "One of my rivals was watching you tonight." Her heart froze. "What? Why?" He hesitated. And it wasn't like him to hesitate. "Because they think." His throat bobbed. "You matter to me." She swallowed hard. "And do I?" His answer was immediate. "Dangerous." Yes. The word hung between them, hot, heavy, undeniable. She tried to breathe, but something in her chest tightened painfully. "You said you wouldn't touch me again after tonight," she whispered. He nodded slowly, his jaw tense, eyes burning with a desire he was holding back by force. "And I won't," he said. "But that doesn't mean I don't want to." Her breath caught. "Then what happens tonight?" His eyes softened, heartbreakingly gentle, heartbreakingly dangerous. "Tonight," he murmured, "I say goodbye to the only woman I've ever wanted." The honesty in his voice hit her harder than any threat, any promise, any kiss ever could. Because in that moment, she wasn't afraid of him. She was afraid of losing him. The untouched drink sat between them like silent witnesses, amber liquid trembling slightly as if sensing the storm brewing inside the room. He didn't look away from her. Not once. Not even to breathe properly. "You followed me because someone was watching?" she repeated, her voice barely steady. "Yes." His reply came low, firm, threaded with something she almost didn't recognize. Fear. Not for himself. For her. Her stomach tightened. "Who?" "One of the Kim Syndicate lieutenants," he said. "The one who's been trying to take territory out of my hands." She blinked. "I'm not involved in your world. Why would they care about me?" He sat back, exhaling slowly as if every word was a weight on his chest. "They don't care about you." His eyes lifted, dark, burning, painful. "They care about what you do to me." Heat prickled through her body before she could stop it. "What I do to you?" she whispered. He nodded once, each movement heavy, controlled. "You walk into my club, and every guard watches me watch you." His voice dropped, growing rougher. "You laugh at the bar, and every man sees how I freeze. You pass me in the hallway, and I forget how to breathe." Her lips parted, heart thudding painfully. "And they see all of it," he finished quietly. "Which makes you a threat. Or a target." She looked away, pulse racing, trying to anchor herself. The rain outside grew louder, matching the pounding in her chest. "So you're letting me go to keep me safe?" she murmured. His jaw flexed. "No. I'm letting you go so you don't get destroyed by being close to me." She froze. The raw honesty of it sliced through her. He rubbed a hand across his face, leaning back, shoulders tense. "I grew up in this life. I know how it ends. And it never ends with the person you care about walking away whole." Her eyes softened, but her voice trembled. "You care about me?" He looked at her, really looked, like she was the one truth in a world full of lies. "You matter too much," he said simply, and somehow that hurt more than anything. The air thickened. She shifted slightly on the couch, crossing her legs, and his eyes dropped, briefly, to the movement. Not lust. Not hunger. Control wrestling with desire. She felt it. She felt all of it. "You're breaking your promise," she whispered, breath shaky. You're not supposed to look at me like that. His eyes lifted, locking on hers with a heat that nearly stole her breath. I know, he murmured. But I can't stop. She swallowed, her pulse fluttering in her throat. Then why did you promise at all? She whispered. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees, hands clasped tightly like he needed to hold something or lose control. Because if I touch you, he said, voice raw, trembling on the edge. If I let myself have you even once. He shook his head. I won't survive letting you go. Her breath hitched. Her body warmed. The space between them felt charged, electric, magnetic, dangerous. She whispered, You're afraid. He nodded slowly, eyes never leaving hers. Of you, he said. Of what you make me feel. Of what I'd do to protect you. Silence fell, heavy and intimate. She leaned back, heartbeat thundering. So what happens now? He looked at her with eyes full of heat and heartbreak. Now, he said softly, I try to keep a promise I should never have made. And in that moment she knew. He wasn't afraid of touching her. He was afraid he never wanted to stop. He stood abruptly from the couch as if remaining seated would break him. The movement was sharp, tense, too fast for the calm mask he usually wore. He walked to the tall window overlooking the neon-washed streets, rain streaking down the glass in long, trembling lines. The city lights reflected on him like fractured colors. A man divided in two. His hands braced against the window frame, knuckles white, shoulders rigid. He looked like someone fighting himself. You're not telling me everything, she said quietly from behind him. His back rose, not with anger but with breath he couldn't release. He stayed silent. She could hear the tightness in that silence. She stepped closer, cautiously, her voice a soft thread in the dim room. You said you're letting me go for my safety, she said. But there's something else. Nothing. No answer. Just the rain and his ragged breathing. Finally he spoke. Voice low, strained, almost breaking. I'm trying. She frowned. Trying what? His head lowered and he exhaled shakily. Trying not to reach for you, he said. Trying not to forget the world outside this room exists. Trying not to undo himself because of you. He didn't say the last part out loud, but she heard it in every syllable. She took another hesitant step forward. The closer she got, the more he tensed, like her nearness burned. You don't have to protect me from yourself, she whispered. Yes, he said instantly, almost violently. I do. She froze. Slowly, painfully, he turned to face her. His eyes. God, his eyes. Fear. Longing so fierce it was almost a confession. You don't know what happens when I stop controlling myself, he said softly. And with you. I lose that control without even touching you. Her pulse jumped. The room suddenly felt too warm, too small, too intimate. What do you mean? She asked. He stepped forward, not to touch, but to close the distance until only a breath separated them. Their bodies didn't touch, but the air between them caught fire. When you look at me, he murmured, I forget I'm supposed to be dangerous. When you walk away, I want to pull you back. And when you're close. His voice dropped, rough and quiet. I feel things I don't have names for. Heat unfurled in her stomach. She swallowed. Then tell me why you're really letting me go. His expression softened, slowly, painfully, like a man peeling away armor he'd worn his whole life. Because you deserve more than a man who kills for a living, he said. You deserve someone who brings you peace, not fear. She opened her mouth. But he shook his head gently, stepping back an inch. And if you touch me right now. He inhaled sharply. I will break my promise. His voice wasn't a warning. It was a plea. She stepped closer anyway, until their breaths mingled and her heartbeat brushed his chest without skin making contact. I didn't ask for the promise, she whispered. His jaw clenched so tightly she could see the tension ripple down his throat. I made it for myself, he murmured. Because if I let myself want you. His voice grew hoarse. I won't let you leave. She reached up, slowly, cautiously, and lifted a hand. Not to touch him. Just to hover near his cheek. The inches of empty space between her fingers and his skin felt hotter than fire. He exhaled roughly, eyes fluttering shut for a heartbeat. Don't, he whispered. If you touch me, I'll forget the promise existed. Maybe it shouldn't, she breathed. His eyes snapped open, dark, wide, devastated. You don't know what you're saying. I do, she said softly. I'm saying you're not the only one fighting something tonight. The air thickened, tightening like a rope around both their throats. He backed away only half an inch, tortured, wanting, wrecked. Please, he whispered. A word she had never heard from him before. Don't tempt me. But that was the problem. She didn't have to. Her very existence tempted him. And for the first time tonight, she realized distance was more dangerous than touch. He stood in front of her like a man torn in two, one half fighting for restraint, the other half burning alive. You're killing me, he murmured. The words left him on a trembling breath, rough and unguarded. His face. God, his face. He looked devastated. Hungry. Lost. She took one slow step toward him. He inhaled sharply. Like her nearness punched the air out of his lungs. Then what do you want from me? She whispered. His eyes dropped to her mouth, then back up. He forced them back up. Nothing, he said. The lie quivered in his voice. But everything. Her chest tightened. He wasn't trying to seduce her. He was trying to survive her. She stepped closer again. Heat curling low in her stomach at how he tensed in response, muscles tight beneath his soaked shirt. Another step. His eyes darkened, a storm forming in the black. Don't come closer, he warned softly. But even his warning sounded like pleas. She ignored him. She moved until the space between them dissolved into warm breath and shared silence. You said you wouldn't touch me, she whispered. His jaw clenched, his throat bobbed, and his fingers twitched like he needed, to reach for her. I won't, he said. But you have no idea what you're doing to me. Her body warmed. If you're not touching me, why does it feel like you are? His eyes hardened, not in anger but in surrender, in the helplessness of wanting someone too much. He exhaled through his nose, slow and shaky. Look at me, she murmured. He did. And in that look, all the promises in the world shattered. He stepped closer, not touching, not reaching, just invading the space like gravity belonged to her. You think I'm strong enough for this? He said, voice barely above a whisper. I'm not. Not when it comes to you. Thunder cracked outside, sharp, violent, as if the night itself felt the tension between them. Then, a sound, soft, barely audible, but unmistakable. The door latch. He stiffened instantly. All warmth drained from his expression, replaced by something cold, lethal, terrifyingly calm. Stay behind me, he said, voice shifting into a tone she had never heard directed at her. He moved her with one hand, lightly, gently, but fast. Instinctively. Protectively. Then with his other hand he grabbed the gun tucked beneath the table. What's happening? She whispered. His eyes were locked on the door. His body had become a weapon. Someone else is here, he said quietly. The promise was gone. Destroyed. Forgotten. The man who moments ago trembled because of her was gone. In his place stood the Korean Mafia boss. Deadly, calculating, unblinking. He positioned himself between her and danger, shoulders squared, gaze razor sharp. The door rattled again. Her breath caught. He lifted the gun, silent and focused. Everything in the room froze. Her heartbeat. The rain. The world. In that terrifying stillness, one truth hit her harder than the fear. He could break every promise he ever made, but he would never let anyone touch her. The door jerked violently. Once, twice, then stopped. Silence thick in the air. She could feel his breath change. Feel the tension rolling off him like heat. Feel the danger whipping the atmosphere into something electric. He didn't look back at her. He didn't need to. His attention was a shield, fixed, unbreakable, terrifyingly precise. Stay behind me, he said again, low and firm. But don't argue. This time it wasn't a command. It was a plea disguised as steel. He stepped forward, gun raised, every muscle carved in tension as the door eased open, not blasted, not kicked. East. A more calculated threat. A shadow slipped inside. Slow. Quiet. Uninvited. The man at her side didn't flinch. Didn't gasp. didn't even blink. He simply shifted his weight, angling the gun with a precision born from a life of violence he never wanted her to see. But tonight, he had no choice. The intruder stepped fully into the light. A man in a dark coat, face half-shadowed, eyes cold and confident. "Boss," the intruder said with a smirk. "Fancy hotel for a goodbye night." Her heart slammed against her ribs. He knew why they were here. Her mafia boss didn't lower the gun, didn't breathe differently. "What do you want?" he asked, voice calm, but death lay beneath it. The intruder shrugged. "Your rival heard you were hiding something." His gaze drifted past the mafia boss to her, and everything changed. Her protector moved, not with anger, not with panic, with violence sharpened into grace. He grabbed her arm and pulled her behind him fully, shielding her with his entire body as the gun swung upward. "Look at her again," he said quietly, "and I'll kill you before your next breath leaves your throat." The intruder's smirk dropped. The air snapped like a pulled wire. She swallowed hard, chest tight, not from fear but from the way he stood in front of her, like a man ready to die for what he refused to lose. The intruder lifted both hands slowly. "Relax. I'm only here to send a message." "That was your first mistake," her mafia boss said, voice cold enough to freeze bone. "You don't come here. You're slipping," the intruder said. "You're making mistakes over a woman who doesn't belong." The gun cocked. Loud. "Final. Finish that sentence," her protector murmured, "and I won't hesitate." The intruder swallowed this time. "You know the rules," the man said, taking a tiny step back. "Your enemies want leverage. And she's leverage." "I know," the mafia boss replied. "And that's why you won't walk out if you take another step." The intruder hesitated, then retreated into the hallway. But before he left, he threw one final sentence over his shoulder. "She stays with you tonight? You just made her a permanent target." The moment the man disappeared, her mafia boss slammed the door shut, locked it, then threw the deadbolt with force. Silence crashed into the room. He didn't turn immediately. His hand still gripped the gun, too tight. His shoulders shook once, barely noticeable but real. "Are you hurt?" he asked, voice low, rough, shaking under the control. She stepped closer. "No. Are you?" He turned. And the look in his eyes, the raw, furious mix of terror and relief, stole her breath. "I thought," his voice cracked just barely, "I thought for 1 second he would get close enough to touch you." She shook her head, stepping toward him slowly. "He didn't." His jaw clenched. "He could have. Because you were protecting me." He closed his eyes, chest rising and falling unevenly, not from the confrontation, but from the fear of what could have happened. Then, he made a mistake. He looked at her. Not like she was trouble. Not like she was danger. Like she was the only thing that mattered in a world full of knives. "Do you understand now?" he whispered. "Why I said tonight is the last night?" Her breath caught. "Because I'm a target now." "No." He stepped forward, shaking his head. "You're a target because you're mine." The words hung between them. Dangerous, desperate, undeniable. She whispered, "You promised you wouldn't touch me again after tonight." He gave a small, broken laugh. "After tonight? I shouldn't be touching you now." Yet despite the danger, despite the fear, despite the promise, he reached out slowly and gently brushed a raindrop from her cheek. His fingers trembled, not from violence, from feeling. "You terrify me," he whispered, "because I've never cared about anyone enough to lose everything." Her heart cracked open. "And I'm going to lose everything," he said, voice raw, "if I lose you." Silence settled after the intruder was taken away. But it wasn't peaceful. It was charged. Like the room still trembled with everything unspoken. She turned to him slowly. He hadn't moved from where he stood after slamming the door shut. One hand was braced against the wood, the other clenched at his side. Jaw tight, eyes dark. Like he was fighting something inside himself with everything he had left. "Are you hurt?" he asked, still facing the door. "No," she said softly. "Are you?" He didn't answer. He didn't need to. The tremor in his shoulders said everything. "Jamin," she whispered. His entire body stiffened. He turned, slowly, like he was afraid to look at her, afraid of what would happen if he did. His eyes met hers, and the storm he'd been holding back all night cracked open. He stepped toward her once, twice, each step heavy with emotion, with restraint, with a promise that was already dying. "Why are you looking at me like that?" she whispered. He stopped right in front of her, close enough for her to feel the heat rolling off him, but not touching. "I almost lost you tonight," he said. The words didn't come out smooth. They came out raw, scraped from a place he didn't show anyone. "You didn't," she said, voice trembling. "But I could have." His voice broke, just barely, but enough to shatter her breath. "I told you I wouldn't touch you after tonight," he said. "But after what happened, that promise feels like a punishment." She swallowed hard. Her heart raced so loud she was sure he heard it. "What if I don't want you to keep that promise?" she whispered. He went absolutely still, like the world stopped spinning. "Don't," he said softly. "Don't say things you don't mean." "I do mean them." His eyes closed for a second, one long, tortured second. When he opened them again, something inside him had snapped. "You don't know what you're doing to me," he murmured, stepping even closer. "You make me lose control. You make me break rules I swore I'd never break." She breathed, then break them. He inhaled sharply, like her words touched the deepest part of him. "I shouldn't want you like this," he whispered. "But I do. I can't stop." The confession hit her like a spark to dry leaves. She reached up, slowly, hesitantly, and touched his face. He flinched, not from pain, from need. "Jamin," she said, her voice trembling but certain, "you don't have to stop." His breath came out unsteady. "You want this?" he asked. "Not the danger. Not the mafia. Me." She nodded. "I want you." Her honesty broke him cleanly, completely. He grabbed her waist, not rough, not claiming, but desperate. Desperate like a man who had been starving for something he finally had permission to taste. He pulled her against him, forehead touching hers. "I tried so hard to protect you from me," he whispered. "But I can't let you go tonight. Not now. Not after everything." Her fingers slid into his hair. His breath hitched. "I don't want you to let go," she whispered. He exhaled shakily, his lips brushing her cheek, just barely, just enough to burn. "I promise." His voice dropped, full and low. "I'll never leave you alone again." Her heart thudded painfully. "Even if it's dangerous?" "Especially then." He held her closer, as if she were the only thing grounding him. Then his lips brushed hers. Slow, trembling, reverent. A kiss filled with everything he had tried to hide. A kiss that tasted like surrender. A kiss that broke every promise he ever made. When they finally pulled away, breathless and shaken, he whispered against her lips, "I won't touch you again after tonight, because after tonight, you're mine for good." And for the first time, she let herself believe it.